So I'm able to record it myself,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, you can also
Okay.
be able to record
Yeah, I
yourself.
just want to make sure that I have access to everything here. Okay, just in case.
Cool. So yeah, for those people who are joining, we still have a couple of minutes. If you guys don't want your face to be on the video, feel free to turn on the camera. That's completely fine. And about the format of the talks, we usually have very interactive talks. So I strongly encourage you to ask all of your questions to Emi in the chat. Please, please, please mute yourself because I think we'll have a lot of people here. So if you have any question, if you have any feedback, if you have anything to say, please write down in the chat. If you have a really long question that you don't want to write down in the chat, please raise your hand in the Zoom. So I will be able to see that and I will be able to unmute you or like give you permission to talk. Please be polite and nice to our presenter.
Okay, we've got one more minute to go.
Well, from my experience, we usually have people getting a bit late for the event. So I think we've seen around 100 people registered for today's event. So I think that we probably take like 2-3 minutes more to make sure that everyone inside the chat.
No worries. Yeah, let's wait for a couple minutes.
If there are any links that you would like to share before, like, I don't know, some projects, some kind of resources that some people might ask you about the further readings or like what kind of resources you recommend them to do. You can also feel free to share something. Cool. And while we're still waiting here for the other participants to join, as usual, I'm asking people where you guys are based right now, because we usually have people joining from different parts of the world. I expect a lot of participants are based in Japan, so it might be really convenient for you to have a workshop starting at 7 p.m. But I do know that some of the people joining us from Europe, and there is like an afternoon time there, some people joining from North America. Feel free to write down in the chat where you're right now based and what time is at your place. Cool. Well, yeah, Philippines are in the same time zone, so. Okay, yeah, for Japan. I think a lot of people know Emi here before, right, Emi? I know that probably a lot of your friends and acquaintances joining today.
Yay, Anthony. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Happy to be here, naturally.
You can ask any questions today.
Anthony, please ask only nice and kind questions.
Yeah.
I will try.
No tricky questions, please. Hey, oh, we have a person from Cameroon. 11 AA, still doable, right? Cool. Let's probably start in a couple of more minutes, maybe one more. Whoa, Bridget, what time right now is in New York City? Thank you so much, Bridget, for joining our workshop. Thank you. I really appreciate the efforts of people who join the events super early in the morning and super late at night. It's amazing to see your motivation to be here. Cool. Cool. Okay, for people who just joined, I'm letting you guys know about today's agenda, today's event. So today we have data-driven design for user experience talk with Emi. And Emi is going to be today's presenter, and she's going to be leading all the interesting and interactive experiences. I strongly encourage you guys to ask your questions to Emi in the chat. Feel free to ask them during the presentations as well. So of course, naturally, we will have a Q&A sessions, but if you have something that won't wait, you can ask the question in the chat, and Emi probably can take a look during some breaks while doing the presentation. A little bit about the what kind of event we have today and about me, even though I'm not the main person in this workshop. For those who don't know, my name is Sasha. I am in charge of events and partnerships at Wagon Tokyo Coding and Data Science Bootcamp. So we are a coding bootcamp. So basically we teach people how to code, how to build web applications from scratch. We also have a data science bootcamp where we teach people how to use, manipulate, and analyze data. And UX design is something that we teach during our bootcamps as well. That's why I thought that would be a really great idea to have Emi and this topic. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be really useful for our community members and some of the alumni of Wagon that I see in the chat. So I hope that you will enjoy this experience today, and probably we'll give a microphone to Emi. Emi.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I can get started. Hello, nice to meet you. I know some of you guys are based out in Japan and some others maybe from all around the world, some different time zones. So thanks so much for joining today's webinar. So I only have 15 minutes today, but there's a lot of topics that I want to cover. So I might be too ambitious. So you can stop me if you have any questions or comments. You can just leave and write in the chat room, chat box, and I can get back to you. So, okay, so today's topic is why data-driven design for user experience. And I understand most of you guys are actually user experience designers, researchers, or some, but some of you guys might be product managers working, directly with the user experience designer. So I hope this topic is very relevant to you. But the key word today is design plus data. So not just the design, but you will be able to see what's the relationship between data and design. So let me move on to the next slide. So we live with this, the pandemic right now. It's been almost more than a year now, and I feel so, sick and tired of hearing all the overshoot, whatever. Yeah, so we live with this what if statement every day, especially during this pandemic, like making all the hypotheses in our heads. What if I was wearing face mask? What if I was not wearing face mask? What if something happened? What if I didn't hang out with the crowd and didn't go to that cluster? Blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, we make thousands of decisions every day, and a lot of decisions is actually based on a number of thousands of hypotheses. I don't know what's the exact number here, but the research is actually there that we make 1,000 decisions on a daily basis. Then the question is how we're going to live with this decision fatigue. Not just the pandemic, but also the kind of decision fatigue. It really makes us like tired. So how can we get out of it? So yeah, I mean, we make a lot of hypotheses every day in order to make whatever decisions at hand. And between hypothesis and decisions, but not all decisions are good decisions. It needs to be well-informed decisions. So you might want to feel something like between hypothesis and making decision in order for you to make good decisions. And that's probably what it is. Like if you have a good data in between, like making hypothesis and making good decision, not just data, but that's causal data that tells you, the clear relationship between your hypothesis and decision, and that's going to lead you to good decisions, most likely. And as a UX designer, it's interesting that I see all the pixels that I push, in XD, Sketch, whatever, all the prototype tools. I see it as actually points of a decision. So a points of a causal data, points of a hypothesis. So I hope, everyone, on your daily basis, when you work, like, using your tools, whatever, you will be able to see those decision points as well. So yeah, how can we make those good decisions? And yeah, the point here is data, right? Causal data. How can we, find those data from where? So I'm gonna walk you through real quick about what are the key concepts in the, about data ecosystem. because it took me almost like a year now to figure out what this data ecosystem means as a UX designer. So I hope that you can just take it away from me without having to go through all the research, whatever. So yeah. So let's take a look at, what are the types of data basically. So you can see at the top, there's unstructured data. So this is the type of data that you will be able to, handle like on a daily basis. A lot of the data, most of the data that we see or we don't see is actually unstructured data, unfortunately. So someone needs to go and, process and structure it and, share it with stakeholders. So data that has no inherent structure, no clear schema, no clear shape and form. So, different types of files, such as text documents, images, and videos. So basically, the kind of Excel, not Excel, but like XD sketch files, your design prototypes are basically unstructured data. At the bottom of this hierarchy is the structured data, data that has a very defined data model, format, and structure, something like the data in your database, such as like, Excel, tables, very clear labels, very clear objects and attributes. You can see the name, sex, age, and, whatever info there. And you can see some type of relationship going on as well between the name and age, so you can find a little more correlation, kind of a more, causal data between those objects and attributes as well. So that's a structured data. There's something that comes in between unstructured and structured data is a semi-structured data. I don't know how to define it, but most likely that, comes in between, obviously. There might be like JSON, XLF files, but it's hard to define what that is actually. Yeah. So we live with the data, and there's a lot of humongous amount of big data in the world. And let's take a look at what are some of the terms that they use in the data world. And so there's the data lake. So data lake is basically, you can imagine, it's a huge, whatever repository, and there's a bit of chaos going on there, of like so a lot of unstructured data, and it caters to users such as data scientists, data analysts, people who are trained, they are just like, work with this data on a daily basis, professionally. And some of the user cases are stream processing, machine learning, real-time analysis. So very, structured use case, clear use cases here. So the type of data in the data lake is the raw data, large data, undefined data. So big data that we are talking about, it might be, like flowing around somewhere in the, one of those data lakes. And there's another thing that's a data warehouse. As you can imagine, it has a bit more space, sense of a space going on there. So like a central repository, there's some structured data, and it caters to like business analysts, might be user experience designers like yourself. And it has a bit clearer use cases such as business intelligence reporting, batch processing. And the type of data you can find in the data warehouse is more refined, smaller, relational, transactional type of data. So as you can see, as you go up this, data hierarchy, you can see a little more schema, clearer, what's the status and what's the nature of data. You will have a little more visibility as you go up this hierarchy. And there's one more term that I want you to maybe take away from this is the data mart, actually. So because as a UX designer and researcher, you might not have enough time to actually go back and forth data lake and warehouse and go through all the chaos to process whatever usage data that you're looking for. So what you might want to do is to work with a data scientist or data analyst, so you can build out some kind of data mart. So that's specifically catered for your needs, such as, Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, some kind of usage data folders, share folders, like, so all those data marts that will be there, that's accessible to you, available to you right away. So you can just use it for your user research and, use it for your design prototyping, whatever at hand. So those are some of the key, the concepts of the data. And now I'm going to look at this, slide. Next one is tell you, why I'm talking about this. Because as a UX designer, I don't know if you were junior, senior, maybe UX manager, product manager. So you will have to work with the data at some point. What I'm talking about data is big data, first of all. So there's a huge, repository of data but we don't know. We don't have the visibility about what kind of data we're talking about. So you might want to do some kind of a data, mapping out data ecosystem to figure out, what kind of projects going on there and what kind of usage UX data is available, accessible to you. If it's not clear and if it's not immediately accessible to you, you might want to work out with all these project stakeholders, like ask Jack and Annie and John and Tom, can I have access to some of the usage data? Because I'm building out this kind of app, and I think some of the data that you have there will be very helpful for doing my design and for doing my user research, understanding my users. So you might want to make friends with some of the data people in charge of those data, like data stewards, gatekeepers who have immediate access to those data, who are in charge of managing those data. So at the end of the day, what I want you to do is to, gain some, a little visibility about what's going on there and what kind of data will be available to you, and, figure out who is in charge. That's also very important. What's the status of the data? Is it active or inactive? Is it decommissioned or is it released? And what's the status of this app? So, if you work in a big, large corporate, chances are that you will have to you will see a lot of projects running in parallel, sales app 1 and 2, and there's a pilot app, whatever marketing website. So, if you have access to those data, you'll be able to find some kind of, more data that can really inform your next design decisions for your own project. So that's the concept about data ecosystem. Another thing is that, so for those data that's stored in the somewhere in the data ecosystem, you also want to understand what kind of attributes, those, data come with. So do they provide some gender info so I can understand my users' demographics? I can do better target segmentation, whatever. Do they have some age info? What's the session time, login error, frequency, and what's the, bounce rate? So I'll try to also map out the nature of the data and what kind of attributes do those data have in your data, the ecosystem. So you'll be able to map out and have a little more visibility, and you'll be able to understand what's the availability, accessibility of those data. Okay, here, actually, I wanted to do a bit, little survey here, but let's take a look at, so maybe, Sasha, what do you think about this question? Maybe I can ask you first. So anyone who has some thoughts around this question, you can just write your answer in the chat box. So the question that I want to ask you is, what do you want to get from doing data-driven design? So I'm not sure if it's Sasha, you are, have some design background or work with the designers, but so what are your thoughts? Like, number one, to understand your customers, your, users better. Number two, data is the new oil. No way I can do design without being data-driven. Number three, to add something nice and cool data-driven to my portfolio work experience. Number four, not sure yet. I will see what I can do, I'll go from there. So what's your answer?
I feel some pressure, but I definitely go for number one.
Number one, to understand your users. How do you define your users here in this context?
What do you mean? Like, users, basically people who use your services,
service,
or platform, or something that you develop or provide.
Right. Yeah, it might be like prospects, like students for the Wagon, some of the boot camps, I don't know. So yeah, so first thing is to understand, like try to identify what your users are. Like target segmentation might be one of the questions. So yeah, thanks for your answer. What about Anthony? May I ask, what's your answer here? I know you're working on this product, which might be a little secretive, I don't know.
For the first project, we'll speak about the company I'm working on. I think we're waiting on data right now to kind of give us a better answer for this. But for the second company we're working on right now, I would say number two, I think is pretty strong of an answer. I think you can't do a lot of work, I think, in terms of the UI UX without an indication of what people actually want to do with it and whatnot. So beta testing obviously is a goal. You want to get to that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And I would say number two is the strongest answer.
Number two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think many, actually some guys answered the number two as well. I think it's predominantly one and two. So I think, yeah, you are in the like the central tendency, not like anomalies. So yeah, I would say, yeah, thanks for your answer, Anthony. Yeah, I think a number one for me as well, but I realized over time the number two, three, and four, whatever, that also matters a lot to me, to be honest. So, with the data, I can build some kind of problem statement more clearly and share it with my stakeholders, put everyone on the same page. So, it has some strategic kind of a motive as well when you try to collect data. Yeah. So thank you for your answers. So yeah, let's move on to like, try to look at what's a small data, big data. Actually, big data comes first in terms of like, volume of a hierarchy, but actually I try to put small data first because that might be, what's the more important for UX designers. So much data is generated, and so much data is recorded and accessible. So I can't sleep at night because I know there's so much, huge big data that's, generated, recorded, accessible, on a daily basis. So what I'm gonna do. So not just decision fatigue, we also live with this data fatigue. I don't know if you realize it or not, but even subconsciously, you might realize that something data, this big fatigue going on, and in the subconscious level. I don't know. So what we also have is like analysis paralysis because too much data, we don't know how to process it. And we don't even, like trust our gut feelings anymore because I need to go through this data and find out, like a very, very solid causal, relationship. Otherwise, I can't make decision. So that's the kind of something that incapacitates you to make decisions. That's also like analysis paralysis that can be another disease. So yeah, we live with this pandemic and a few diseases over big data going on here. So, but what's good thing about it is that we can discover a lot. In this data, there's many stories going on, and among those stories, there are also potential for many. You will be able to find some many users as well. So something that can inform your next UX design product, basically. So yeah, I think the question and the stress is big data. How are we gonna do, and what are we gonna do about it? So yeah, first we can think about, how big data then is different from small data. Is it just a scale? Yeah, I mean, it might be, So yeah, they have a different goals basically. Also, they use different location. They have a different data structure, preparation, whatever. But, through my research, I came down to this three keywords. And if you take away these keywords, I think I mean, that might be enough, for now. So like a volume, velocity, and variety. Again, volume, velocity, varieties. Those are 3Ds. Plus, they, start like discussing something a little bit more like ethics, data integrity, which is data veracity, and also it should be valuable for you at the end of the day, not just big data. So they put in new terms such as like data value and veracity. So basically, volume, velocity, variety, value, and veracity of they will make big data different from small data. Yeah, so why am I talking about small and big data? Is because, well, there's some kind of a frame of that you can use in order to, understand the nature of a usage data, user data, and the user insight that you deal with as a UX designer. So let's just say, so, like in this framework, like number one and two, that might be big data, and number three and four, they might be smaller data. So what I mean by big and small is just a relative term, not like absolute, like, terabyte and, petabyte. I'm not talking about that. We can leave that question to data scientists. But for UX designers, in terms of the relativity. So number one, like demographics, it's a big data, like a call center log. You want to get some, like what's the sales revenue and what kind of people are buying the product. I want to understand who are the users, customers, and prospects, understand the demographics better. So that's more likely to be big data. And number two is a usage data, something that can help you understand about the usage behavior, in a bit of a scale, like a call center data again, and Adobe and Google Analytics that you already might be using, on a daily basis. So like events and sessions, some kind of a big data that's auto-generated that will, be fetched to your, I don't know, like auto report in your mailbox. So those are kind of a data that's a little bit, a big, like, compared to like number three and four. And there's a smaller scale data, which is number three and four, which might be a little more relevant to you as a UX designer or researcher. So number three is a user test metrics. And the number three and four, basically, those are the types of data you need to get from by doing user research, user tests, A/B test yourself. So number three, usage metrics, such as like heart metrics, system usability scale. You might want to run like a survey and ask them, give them like questionnaire, answer them about what's the heart metrics, for example. You will actually have to ask your users, like face to face online, I don't know. Number four is behavior insight that comes a little bit up in the hierarchy. So behavior insight. So the type of data you can get through like user interview, thematic analysis. So analyze, process a little bit of your big data, and then it becomes your data that you can use at hand, like a survey data, for example. So I mean, in terms of the scale of the relativity and hierarchy, this might be one of the frames that you can use to understand the nature of your data. Okay, let's go to next slide. And yeah, and this is also very important. Sorry, there's so many key, important terms today, but yeah, I really want you to remember and take away today as well. So number one is, the scale of the data, big data, small data, but not all data is the insight, but we misunderstand that, oh, we got this user research data. I mean, it's good insight that can directly inform our product development, product design. It's not, because what you're talking about just raw data, most likely. So the kind of just the facts, figures and numbers, just pure data, raw data out there that needs to be processed, transformed, and so that it can become some kind of information that's more relevant to you, such as more organized, structured, useful, condensed, accessible information. So if you add more meaning to information, that it might become your knowledge that's more personal to you and personal to your team, such as ideas, learning, notions, synthesized, compared, and discussed. And at the end of the day, though, what we want to get is insight out of this data. So you add a bit of a perspective to it, then it becomes your insight. So you can internalize and externalize with your stakeholders, such as understanding, integration, reflection, actionable insight. So actionable insight is something we should be able to get as a UX designer through our, data-driven design. Okay, let's go to the next one. So I love a beautiful illustrations. When I looked at this illustration, I thought I would share to explain this data ecosystem. So there might be a humongous amount of data lake and like big data. And out of that ocean, you want to find some kind of a data warehouse with the data stewards, your stakeholders, whatever. And after that, you want to, build out some kind of a data mart for yourself and for your team. And after that, you can make a data-driven design well-informed decisions out of those data from the data mart. So don't try to go to like all the data lake and big data and try to crunch numbers on a daily basis, because I understand what you can do better is creative problem solving rather than data wrangling and mining, which is also very valuable, but we can leave the job to experts like data scientists, but we can do better creative destruction, construction, whatever, as a UX designer. So I hope you can focus on design, but also be able to, learn how to really leverage the power of the data here to do better design, to make a better informed decisions. Okay, so next one is, so what if, right? What if again? So if there's only big data exists, if there's only usage data there, then what's going to happen? So you're only looking at like a call center data, events and sessions. So you don't know why, why those people are dropping off and why those people are, coming back and, not purchasing and blah, blah, blah. So you can never delve into the why question if you only work with the big data. And what if there's only small data, in reverse? So, and you will never be able to get to like what question. At what point people are dropping off? What are the sales numbers? What's the the number of new users and the repeaters? So you needed to synthesize those big and the small data, so you can have a better, clear visibility to understand your users. So this is the kind of situation. So if you are piloting your aircraft and you believe that you are sure where you're going, but a very, very clear destination in mind, up there, so you believe you know what your users want and you are heading up for it. But, there's like a big typhoon over there. You are not able to gauge the situation and chances are it will just shut down, right? So without knowing what's going on out there, like in terms of a big data, it will put you in this kind of, crisis. So that's why, I want to talk about like multiplicity here. So when you try to use and pull out data from data marts, whatever, you will also have to think about, like multiplicity. Do I have enough amount of data? And is there multiple, perspectives? Does it provide you multiple, like, insights? Or is it just like a singular, like interview feedback? Is it just usage drop off bounce rate and that's it, Then you will not be able to see the entire landscape. And, chances are that you're going to put yourself in trouble. So, let's try to look at what's not feasible out there by trying to refer to both the big and the small data and continue to look out for more evidence there. So that's why multiplicity of the data is a very, very important. So actually, I want to ask you again. So how big data work? So how much are you actually, using big data, design, production, development, whatever? So number one, or break a deal in my line of work. Number two, data around, why not? Number three, I'm not sure, but and no specific use case yet. Number four, I don't really care for big data. Number five, never, never deal breaker. So what's your answer? Let me see your answers again. And what about you, Sasha? Again, I'm sorry, you're my victim
I
today.
don't know.
But
Well, since I'm doing a lot of marketing, so obviously for me, number one, for sure.
Mhm. Oh, what kind of a big data do you use? May I ask if it's not confidential?
Oh, everything. But mainly surveys, mainly text. I mean, I don't use
Uh-huh.
any images or videos so far, but this is something that probably can use in the future if I know how to analyze it efficiently.
Yeah. Right. Analysis, yeah. Process, yeah. I mean, that's another question. So thanks for the keywords. Yeah. I think, yeah, thanks for your answer. I think well the answers are like number two and three. I think there's like number two is like, the most answers. Yeah, to some extent, it's like, it looks like that, you guys understand the importance of a big data and you are using it to some extent, but you don't know yet. I mean, I will, like more still exploring, right, the potential there. So I think that's pretty much where I am right now too. So you are not alone. And so yeah, let's keep investigating what we can do about big data. So thanks for your answers. Yeah, Ray. Thanks for a lot of insights there in the chat box. Yeah, I'm also looking at it. Yeah. Okay, so then let's try to look at research method basics because we just discussed the nature of a big small data ecosystem, whatever. So what about them? I want to achieve like the data that's relevant for my doing my design. So I want to, understand what are those some of the research methods and how can I do and use it for my design. So I think, yeah, I mean, most of people understand, I guess, like qualitative, quantitative research. So basically, quantitative, it deals with numeric data and it's more quantifiable type of a research and analysis process. And qualitative, it uses like observation, verbal feedback, verbal written kind of a feedback. So it's not exactly quantifiable in terms of like numbers, but yeah. But those methods have their own pros and cons, obviously. One of the things that quantifiable, like quantitative analysis research can do is that you are able to understand what question again. So, what's happening there? Like, is there typhoon and what is it? You can actually do like learn by looking at like Adobe Analytics and you can see some kind of anomalies there. Why is it shooting up? Like what pandemic? So number of people increasing, for example. So yeah, in terms of numbers. But qualitative, it's a verbal feedback and observation, something that's harder to actually, quantify, but it's very, very valuable as well because it gives us some answer about, why people are behaving that way. So at the end of the day, UX researchers and designers, we needed to understand why people behave that way, why people are not signing up, why dropping off, and why they're, so those kind of why questions can be answered through qualitative research. And I value both research methods, but I do value qualitative a little bit more in the world of UX design. So let me introduce you the, like the interview flow that I use. Actually, I have another like interview project, research project in October. So I'm trying to like draft a questionnaire, whatever. It's a little bit, messy right now, but yeah, let me just tell you like what's my typical process. So yeah, firstly, you needed to define what kind of users, customers you want to interview with. You want to interview, so like, what those people are, about. Are they like your customers or prospects, students, or people like a salesman? What types of people are they? So you need to think about the persona of the users first of all. And based on your persona, you might want to do sampling. So depending on your sampling, the interview feedback can be really, really different. And the data points you get will be very different. So be aware, sampling is very important. Is it stratified sampling or random sampling, probability sampling, really depending on the sampling, the results can be different. So, and then you will have to recruit participants and then draft a questionnaire. After that, it's might be straightforward. Like you want to conduct interview over a week or two, I don't know. And, and you want to do like team debrief and discuss with not just the UX designer, members of your team, but also your stakeholders about what's going on there in the raw data and how we can translate it to some kind of a UX action items. And yeah, I mean, I do it like while I'm actually still collecting data. So you will be doing data collection in parallel. And after that, you want to do, data analysis and do survey report. And then, yeah. And there's another one, like at the end of the day. So you want to share, evangelize the results of the research. So I think that people often forget to share it, but I would say that socializing your data is also very, very important. So don't just keep it to yourself, and please socialize with your data. Some of the analysis tools that, I try to put it out there. So like Evernote, it enables you, great with your data theme. And one of the analysis methods that I really enjoy doing is a thematic analysis. So basically, I like actually enjoy doing manual transcription from the interview. So really one by one. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. But I realize actually it's a really, really granular, very valuable data. Because if I use a tools like auto-generate, auto-process those keywords, it doesn't really give me the image of the relationship between those data, no association of those data. So I will have to do it manually, again. So yeah, so you can pick out some of the themes and keywords that, you can find through the interview feedback. For example, like a Starbucks, you researched, did a user interview, and people give you the answers like, oh, Starbucks, nice coffee, but, not much social distancing, and, it's so crowded, no personal space, and it really sucks, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to see those keywords in this keyword analysis if you use a tool like, Qualtrics, whatever. So you will see that Starbucks, like, no social distancing, no distance, like, lack of a space, blah, blah, blah. You will see those keywords out there. And based on that, you can gauge some kind of the customer user sentiment and, get a sense of what's going on out there. Okay, next one is a quantitative. I'm sure that everyone has done one or more or even more, survey in your life. So yeah, you can use like a free tools, and I think that's good enough, to be honest. But one of the things that other tools, like more evolved, advanced tools like a Qualtrics can do, is that it can help you to do data integration with like a customer experience data and some sales data, other types of the data as well, based on the data input that you use there. So think about how you want to use the kind of like a features these days. Because a survey 1.0, which is like a survey monkey, very, very default kind of a research tool. that doesn't I don't know how much features they have added these days, but I don't see it very much evolved when it comes to data integration. But because we are talking about big data, you will have to think about how you want to integrate your data, how you want to do better like data analysis and data visualization, even auto report generation and auto like email to your stakeholders. So all these are features in Qualtrics that's what I really enjoy using. Right now, I don't have access to Qualtrics in my current company, so I will have a call with them tomorrow actually to see, must be pricey, I don't know, but yeah, I will see how it goes and let you know. Yeah. Okay, so some of the analysis methods you can use for quantitative research is basically description. I'm sure everyone uses it, like basically really, out of this, oh, there's a 50% like increase in the sales. And yeah, that's a description. So I mean, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can think about doing like correlation analysis, regression analysis, and use some kind of data visualization in your report as well, such as pivot table, for example. And yeah, I mean, Qualtrics do you a lot of like enable you to do those like data visualization, and it gives you some kind of like analytics dashboard. So you can use it, look at the same page, and talk about the same page with your stakeholders too. So I really like want to explore more potential with like a Qualtrics in the future. Yeah. So I put in some of the links over there so you can access like a Qualtrics and see what Qualtrics and other tools can do, like a SurveyMonkey. I don't know how they're doing these days, for example. So you can just check out that. Yeah, some data scientists out there, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, yeah. So basically, I believe that basic tools, default tools can do you good. I mean, if you want to explore, that's great too. But first, try to find, what those like the basic tools can do for you. And after you have a better idea about how you want to explore your different research methods, then you can explore more. But yeah, for now, maybe, if you are a beginner or just enter this field, whatever, then maybe just basic tools and method can do you just good. Yeah. So next one is a user analytics, A/B testing. So I think it's a very common topic in the world of UX. Actually, I'm one of the best experience I have had about user analytics A/B testing was working with product managers, and not like designers, because designers usually don't want to do like a stats like analysis. So yeah, but product managers, they're amazing. And obviously some like a data analyst you can also work with as well. So in my company, I mean, we have a one data person in the UX team as well. It's a small team, but we do have a UX capability, I mean, data capability as well. So it's very important to work with the data experts and try to learn from them, and it can really accelerate your learning curve. So user analytics, what about it basically, I mean, there are a few things that you want to like remember, but yeah, basically, I hope you work with a very clear strategy in mind. Like, what are you doing with your tool, right? So tool is a tool at the end of the day, but what do you want to achieve from this analysis? Is it user acquisition or digital adoption or engagement or more, like conversion, whatever. So have a very clear strategy in mind, and then think about what should it be your UX success metrics. Is it, more sign up rate, or, so those, little granular points of data, you can think about a little bit later or in parallel, but do not forget the bigger, picture, the vision and the strategy part first. Because I see a lot of like product managers, designers, they just, run A/B tests on a daily basis, crazy about it. They get the data, but I don't know what those data are talking about and what they want to achieve actually. Just run A/B tests every day. That's it. So yeah, let's not forget, about the strategy part. So some of the dimensions you want to take a look when you want, use like user analytics is like content information, conversion funnels, navigation paths, visitor details. And you also want to, after that, like there are some metrics that you want to set up, and maybe you can recalibrate the dashboard and like number of users and sessions, average session duration, average pages per session, new returning visitors, and bounce rate. For me, unfortunately, because I've just released my product recently, so I keep looking at like bounce rate, but I don't want to dwell on bounce rate. So yeah, I mean, it depends on your strategy. I want to move on to more digital adoption. And then I want to move on to more engagement, retention, more loyalty, and referral. So think about all the marketing channels. What should be your strategy, and what kind of a metrics you want to tie it with your strategy? Is it bounce rate, or is it just the page view? What should be the dwell time? And yeah, you want to go like go investigate it. And yeah, user analytics, obviously, they provide you real-time events, all the sessions and like metrics and, some granular data points. What else it can do is, there's some solid data visualization you can use as well. Like it generates you heat maps, for example. And if you present this kind of a heat map to like a leadership team, your stakeholders, customers, and nobody is going to argue with you because it's so obvious. But people are not clicking and they're not scrolling down there, the page. And, you can see that it's very clear, stratified. So nobody's really clicking there on the, at the bottom. So yeah, you want to use this type of data visualization as well using heat maps. And session replay videos, I haven't actually used it, but I see a lot of nice, recordings of the moments of the users actually, which might be one of the observation method as well, which is indirect. So they provide you a number of like session recordings. So you can hit those recordings with your team members and see what are the the central tendency, why people are doing it, most of the users, and what are the friction points. You can find those by doing observation of those videos, which can be very, very time consuming though. Yeah, but I want to get those videos myself. So I'm trying to break into so we have a digital marketing team, but we don't really directly work on a daily basis. So I mean, trying to have access to those through gatekeepers is one of my agenda too. And last but not least is A/B testing. So using user analytics like the Google, I don't know about Google, but like Adobe Analytics, you can definitely do auto user, A/B testing. So you set certain, you can set certain like a date and time value, and for what duration, and what are the points that you want to test out. So it will auto generate the report out of your tested values and the parameters that you just set. And yeah, again, back to the Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics dashboard. It's very important in terms of the data visualization. So, working with your team members and stakeholders, product managers, I don't know, even developers. Developers can help you to do some tag management if you want to recalibrate and customize your dashboard and try to find very, very granular click-through, click-stream analysis that will help you to build those codes. So because I don't have that capability in my team, so I work with the developers to find those, set those, UX metrics together and try to actually do the tag management together with the developers. So a lot of what we do as a UX designers is actually cross-functional teamwork. It's a very, very, almost impossible to work on my own because analytics tool, for example, we're talking about the world of big data. There's immense, humongous amount of data that's flowing in every day. And how are to crunch numbers and do analysis? So you might want to work with the data experts. Unfortunately, don't work alone. So, and another thing that I want to, articulate is that please socialize your UX data, because getting data wrangling mining is one thing, but you want to share it with your team members, your stakeholders. If you don't do that, you can't get funding for your next research project, whatever. And also you can't get endorsement and support. They don't know what you were doing, maybe just killing time and looking at the dashboard, that's it. So please do socialize and try to share your research findings and analysis with your stakeholders. It should be like a social kind of a platform. This is the way that I see, like a Facebook, whatever. So it should be shared really. Yeah, so next on the list is A/B testing. Okay. So yeah, before we get into like what A/B test is about, so let's think about what we can do to run good A/B testing. So first, you want to get the testing tool at hand. Obviously, like Optimizely, for example, and like Adobe Target, and there are some specific tools you can use for doing A/B testing and integrate it with, for example, Adobe Target. You can integrate the data with your analytics tool as well, and define your UX success metrics. like the strategy part, right? What are your success metrics actually, and how do you define them? Next, define, build hypothesis to be tested. What do you want to test here? Is it just, throw out all the A, B, and C, what are the reactions are? It's not like that. You want to get some kind of a very solid, clear learnings from your A/B test. So think about hypothesis first and strategy. And next, define variables and learning. I think it's more intuitive from this point. So like create the variables, and measure and activate, analyze the results, document the learning, and evangelize again, like socialize, right? So you want to share A/B test data with your stakeholders and repeat the process basically. I don't know if you work in a like waterfall project team, it will be very painful to repeat an idea, but you can still evangelize the data from your A/B testing and let them know the value of doing user testing like this. Yeah. And I think one of the best tools you can use is Optimizely again, like Adobe Target. I haven't used it myself, but basically I put in some like the link over there so you can go and access and find out the features yourself. Some of the key terms that we can think about here is the control and the treatment. So those are the key. I think everyone knows, but might not be like really haven't done like put like variables yet. I don't know. So you can go explore like a control. That should be the point of a reference for your design, your original design. You want to test out, and you want to do like variables like a treatment. You can do multivariate tests. Like if you have more than just one treatment, 2 or 3 or 4, and you have a bunch of combinations, you can also do that. But maybe you can explore after you learn how to do good A/B testing first. So a lot of experiment you can do with A/B testing as well. And this is one reference that I'm sure that everyone knows, like how Obama, like a campaign, they raised $60 million by running a good, simple A/B test, for example. So the concept is this. So, they were not sure what kind of an image, persona will be best to get more funding, let the users click and, so yeah, they try to come up with this combinations of different images, like a family image, a persona image, campaign image, and there's a video clip, shorter video clip, longer video clip. And so they have like 6 media variables at hand, and they want to see, what types of buttons will have a more like convergence. So, the basically same style of a button, but the labels are different, like join us now, learn more, sign up now, sign up. So I don't know, sign up now might be a little too direct. So they wanted to use a little bit subtle language, I guess, like join us now. That's more engaging, more, not so much like a propaganda. So they want to use those types of different, button combinations. So out of those, a function of a 6 and 4, you can get like a 24 combinations. And out of that, what they saw was like a 60% lift in sign-up rate, which is amazing. So that means like $60 million convert, like, the funding, you can see through this like A/B test, which is very simple. But if you do it right, I think that's just, it gives you the right data. So to go with, so, think about how you want to do, what's your, A/B tested treatment, what's your A/B test control, how you want to get, like what kind of insight you want to get, what's your design hypothesis to begin with. Okay, so next one is, user analytics, A/B testing, it's all good. But again, those are quantifiable, the quantitative analysis. So unfortunately, numbers can inform you about what's happening again, but they don't really tell you why that is happening. But as a UX designer, it's all about really understanding why. Yeah, of course, as in addition to like what question, that's also important, but to get really down to the question of why, you want to dig deeper with the qualitative data. And that's why I love doing like interview research and get some type of multiplicity of data. So I try to like look at, like monitor and track some usage data on Adobe Analytics weekly, monthly. We have like a monthly team debrief and look at the, what are the numbers out there, what's going on, what are the anomalies, and what are the events. we also do, user research projects that's every 3 months or something. So build a very solid questionnaire, solid sampling, solid recruiting. And out of that, we can triangulate, synthesize the research data and see some kind of a multiplicity of data that gives us a more conviction, more confidence about the data that we are looking at. Okay, so we don't have much time right now, so let me just, okay, so what about like doing remote usability testing? It's a totally doable. So since we don't have much time today, I hope you can just go and check out my article out there. But basically, I did the illustration myself. It gives you an idea about what kind of a research flow preparation that you can do. Basically, what is different from like like on-site interview, on-site user test is that you need to do a little more prepping there because some users, they don't know how to do screen share. They don't know how to use Zoom. I mean, if you are talking about like people in 60s, it's very likely they can't do screen sharing. They can't, even Wi-Fi. So make sure you provide them with all the resource, all the links to, installing those apps. And then you can do like a dry run with them. That's very important. So you don't have to waste like 30 minutes before your user interview, actually spending a lot of time doing the setup itself. So yeah, I hope you can follow this basic, like there's some tools out there as well, so you can check out. And there's this idea about back room you can use, like think about, like interrogation room in movies. So like there's in the front, there's a user research going on there, like interrogation, I don't know. But in the back room, you can tie it with your Zoom link and let's just say like a Skype or WebEx. And so beyond the one-way glass, you can observe what's going on in the front. So that kind of a backroom idea is something that you can use, interestingly, in this pandemic. So yeah, I mean, I hope you can go explore some of this remote usability testing idea as well. I think, yeah, that's pretty much what I have it for today. So please, let's just recap, what's the takeaway from here. So we make a lot of hypotheses, especially during the pandemic, should we work from home or, go to whatever. So yeah, you want to make good decisions, well-informed decisions. And what a data-driven design can do is that you can get causal data through your user research analytics and achieve multiplicity of data. And then it can help you to make that well-informed decision. I hope you enjoy doing data-driven design and get the best decision that you can make for your next design project. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have for today. Any questions?
Cool. Thank you, Emi, so much. Guys, we still have some time for questions. Feel free to send the question in the chat to Emi.
Yeah, I missed some of the comments. I'm sorry, so much into the presentation, but yeah, any key questions? Maybe Sasha can pick up like 1 and 2, or
I think there was a heated discussion about the heat maps in the chat. If the heat maps are good or if they're evil.
Oh, why is it evil? What's the evil side? I actually want to hear from the
Max, feel free to mute yourself and tell why you don't like heat maps.
Why is it evil? Maybe because it just gives you one dimension of a data, hot and cold and hot and cold, but not really detail about why, what is going on there. Maybe you
yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Sorry, I didn't have my earphones in. Yeah, it's funny, when Crazy Egg first launched, they cited some research from Stanford that correlated the mouse movements with eye tracking at a pretty high rate. And I dug into the white paper from Stanford, and they had misquoted the statistics and they got it backwards. It was like there was like a 17% correlation, not a 80% correlation. So yeah, I called them out on that, and they eventually removed it from their website. But yeah, it's just like not correlated. Like the idea of using, I mean, if you're actually doing eye tracking and building a heat map, fine. But if you're just trying to correlate it based on the mouse movement, then it's just not very correlated at all. There's a lot of other issues too, which are like there's click maps, which are used by full story. And I think those are much more useful. Yeah, I'll just step down for now.
Yeah, thank you for your insight. I think that's more than data. That's obviously insight. So from your lessons learned. Yeah, so I basically use data visualization, especially the quantifiable data like heat maps, whatever. So I just use it as a reference, but I don't use it as the reference. So you might want to triangulate it with other data points like interview and other usage analysis, so other data points as well. So yeah, thanks for sharing your insights. Also, you mentioned eye tracking. I actually wanted to, share some eye tracking method and practice, but I guess that might need to be like, maybe next session. So, but yeah, also very interesting research method. Thank you.
A couple of people actually ask you, Emi, to suggest any readings or courses to learn about these concepts in much deeper. Do you have anything in your mind, like how people would know more?
Oh, okay. I think the first thing that's really more important is that you go hands-on, really get hands-on, like whatever tools you have out there. I'm sure everyone has access to your portfolio website, Google Analytics, or some other analytics tool, I don't know. So if you have something at hand, just use it, get hands-on, and try to Google. And, there's a lot of YouTube tutorials, which is really nice. So if you once get a sense about what's going on, you get a sense of the direction yourself, you can do self-directed study, self-directed research. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of research going on out there. So please go get hands-on first with what you can, at hand.
Yeah, Max, you can ask the question.
Yeah, hi. It'll be faster to talk than to type. So yeah, thank you. I'm Max, and like I saw a lot of the examples were landing pages, and landing pages have like kind of a clear goal, to kind of like you have this funnel that you're trying to convert on, and so I think it's kind of easier maybe to know what data to look at and what A/B and test to try and things like that. But I'm wondering, like, when you're building an application that has a lot of rich functionality, like say it's an email client, and there's a compose window, and there's different commands to do various things. Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have some kind of framework for trying to think, because I guess sometimes it's less clear. Like I have all this data of user interactions from Segment, that pumps into all these different analytics and data visualization tools, but I'm often not quite sure what to do with it, because I guess it's harder to understand what you're trying to optimize for. I guess, I guess there's just this idea of like, you're always trying to remove friction from critical paths and things, but yeah, I guess, yeah, hopefully there's something you can respond to in there. Yeah, I'm Max, and I'm muting myself.
Yeah, thank you, Max. You sound like I don't know, research expert or something. So I don't use those very granular, like the research tools. But yeah, I mean, basically, it sounds like to me that you can put out, you can think about define your UX success metrics, your hypothesis, and your strategy first. So it sounds like if you think about hypothesis first, you know what to test against, like control and treatment. So you might be dealing with only treatments. You've got a bunch of data going on, but I don't know what's the center of gravity here. What's your control? What's your hypothesis? So I would say first to think about your hypothesis, and you can think about how you want to make the use of your data. That sounds like a big data. So yeah. Thank you. We can have another session with your questionnaire, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And anything else? So maybe, yeah, how are we doing in terms of the time, Sasha? What do you think?
Oh, well, I'm completely fine. If you have time, Emi, you can ask all these questions that we have. It's completely up to you.
Okay, maybe we can have like one or two more questions. So can you pick one for me?
Yeah, there's a very good question.
Okay.
I struggle to convince my team how important data is for UX and realistic task prioritization instead of assumptions. Any advice on how to onboard your team do work with analytics tools?
Oh, can you, where can I find the question actually?
It's in the chat. It's fourth question to the end. Fourth.
2, 3, 4.
From Jero.
Ooh, I don't see the question here.
That starts from I struggle.
Oh, this one, I struggle to convince my high important data for onboard your team to work with analytics tools. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that other guys might have their own answers, but from my experience, I think seeing is believing. It's really, really important that you show them something visual, really. And of course, not just the raw data visualization like a heat maps, you might want to do very, very good analysis based on the database. So if you give them not just to throw out raw data, but really nice analysis, from those data, they will be able to see some value. Oh, I don't need it to go and, I'll go through all the raw data myself. And I see a lot of insights there in terms of a user behavior. So they will sign up for your service. Actually, they will, get back to you like every month or something. Can I get another usage data? What's going on in this month? Like last time you shared this report, can I get another one, for example? So I think really seeing is believing. I think the thing is that you start with like, lower hanging fruits, like a smaller data and a smaller report, and then provide something valuable to them right away. Then you can go from there like agile, adding small incremental value to your report. Yeah, I mean, that's what I do, but yeah. Okay, anything else? One more, maybe?
Yeah. We also have Max in the chat answering a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Max, for assisting Emi today. There is a very interesting question from Dai. Can you tell me about the time when you use big data for interaction design research? Though you did a very great job, Emi, introducing a lot of concepts here, but it will also really be cool to know about you, how you use the same concepts in your work. I probably think that Dai is asking this question.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone has the moments, like milestone moments. So for me, when I released my app recently, so like a month ago, like Digital Portal, we just released the one new product. So I think there are milestones through the life cycle of your product. There's a release point, there's an inception point, design and research and iteration. So yeah, for me, that kind of release moment, it's a big milestone. I want to celebrate with my team workers as stakeholders. And that's the point that I try to gain big data from Adobe Analytics, whatever, and have, good analysis and share the report with them. So you don't have to do analysis report like every day because you are user researcher or, design, I believe. So if your main job is design, please focus on doing creative problem solving, but you can use analysis and report part in order to empower your design. So set those milestones in your project calendar and what kind of a points that they can inform you to do research and provide those nice, insightful report with your stakeholders. That's the way that I use big data, not every day, more like milestone based. So.
Cool. I would just like to probably share the resources that Emi talked about. So if you guys missed it, so the slides from today's Emi's presentation I just share. And if you have any questions you would like to connect to Emi and discuss anything with her, feel free to add her on LinkedIn.
Yeah, really feel free to connect and ask me any questions by LinkedIn or, and there's a slide, as Sasha said, you can access and download it yourself. Okay.
Just one question from Teresa. Teresa, I know you want to ask your question so much, so we let you unmute yourself and ask it.
Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Teresa. I'm volunteering for a very small team, and I just requested Google Analytics because I realized I really need data. But the issue is that we're so small, we can't do A/B testing. So I'm not sure what to look at within Google Analytics because there's so much buttons. It's not really user friendly, and I'm not very good at doing this. So I'm not sure what to start on.
Yeah, I mean, there are moments that I don't know what to start on. So it's for me, it's every day actually, I mean, yeah. But the thing that I can do, maybe I can advise you, is that you want to look for anomalies. So there's a huge like a traffic data of your users. You don't want to analyze every point, but there might be some moments that really, really stand out. Like, oh, there's a huge drop off of people at a certain point that you want to go and really drill down to it. So what is it happening because of the pandemic, or is it like a new campaign, like email release, whatever? So there must be some event there if you see some kind of anomaly, and go for the anomalies. So I think that's the the first step you can do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Max. If you want to have a discussion with Emi, I recommend to add her on LinkedIn and continue, since I think that you have a lot of questions to her.
Yeah, I'll be happy to answer any burning questions there if you have any
Cool.
other questions. Okay.
Thank you so much, Emi, for your
Thank
time and for
you.
amazing presentation as always. And thank you everyone for staying with us until that late. And I hope you had a really good time, because I did. Stay with us, and maybe we'll have Emi for one of the upcoming workshops somewhere in the future. I hope so. And yeah, keep learning. Have a great evening or afternoon or morning for all of you. Thank you and
Yeah,
bye.
have a great week. Have a great evening. Bye bye.